My family lived there. I enjoyed my summers there, and I wanted the black experience. I wanted to go to school with black kids, with black teenagers. Go to school with people who looked like me, because I hadn't. My whole life, I hadn't. So Albany State was a good choice because of my family, and my grandmother wanted me to stay with her. You know, that was a big thing for her.
When is it, what year is it that you actually come into Albany State College, as it was?
1961, September. My first semester, first quarter, my first and only. When I got to Albany State campus in 1961, and I was very pleased. I was a happy soul, actually. I was just very, very happy to be there. I met some really good friends. I didn't live on campus. I lived with my grandmother. So my days were spent on the campus, but I went home at night. So I never got the experience of actually living on campus, but I did a lot of living on campus.
Okay, what are some of the activities that you actually were involved in besides hanging out in the student union as long as you possibly could?
I know. Let's see. The chorus, the choir, was part of the choir, and part of the concert choir. We performed, I think we performed a couple of places. I really enjoyed that because I enjoy singing. And I was asked to be Stroller Queen that fall, so I was Stroller Queen.
And tell me,
and that was fun.
Look, tell me what the Stroller is for those who do not know. What is the Stroller Queen?
The Stroller, well, the Strollers are the pledges, or the pledges for Kappa fraternity. And the pledges could not talk to their girlfriends. So I used to be the messenger. I could talk to the Stroller pledges, but the girls couldn't. So I would take messages back and forth. That was fun. That was fun. It was fun being queen. I think it was homecoming. The Stroller Queen, the colors are red and white. So my grandmother made this really nice red suit, and I got to sit in a little red sports car for the parade. That was nice. One of the things that I remember about being there, and I had never heard of this before, was the night before the game, homecoming game, we actually had a funeral for the other team, with the captain of the other team, with the, oh my gosh, with the coffin, the whole 9 yards, and that, I don't know if any other school did that, but Albany State did that, and we sang hymns, and I think some people even fell out, you know. I had a good time. It must have been a little while after I'd gotten there, pretty much close to when SNCC came on campus, and we got involved with that. I think at the very beginning. Okay. At the very beginning, when they started talking about what they were going to do, I knew that I was going to be a part of it. There was no doubt in my mind that I was going to be a part of that. From what I knew and from what was going on down there, it's just in my heart, it was not right. And so I was going to do anything that I could to help that situation. Oh yeah, there was no question about
Next
that.
question.
Okay.
The incidents in the summer in your childhood, mm-hmm. Is that really what drew you in to getting involved spiritually?
Probably the first time, yes. Because that really ticked me off with that water incident when I was little. Oh yeah.
So that pulls you in, and then once you're involved, okay, so when is the first demonstration for you? Because we were talking about this a little earlier, mm-hmm. off camera, mm-hmm. About December. And you're marching, and tell me what you can remember about that first march.
Yeah, I remember that we said that we were going to march after we took our final exams. We wanted to make sure that we did absolutely nothing to jeopardize our schooling. And so we took our final exams, and we went through the hallways of the buildings to remind the students, when they finished, that we were going to march. I do remember being booked, standing outside and waiting in line to be booked when we were finally arrested. I remember before that, though, when we were actually going to march, and there was some fear that came up then. Before that, no. You're 17, 18, and nothing can harm you, especially if you know you're right. You've got that determination going. But there was just a little bit of fear because we didn't know whether they would have the dogs there for us. We didn't know whether they would have the hoses. The fear of the unknown at that point, I think, kind of got me, but it wouldn't have stopped me. It definitely would not have stopped me. I just would have gotten more pissed. So the next thing that I remember is being booked, and it was this big, brawny guy, all brawn and no brains. He couldn't spell my name. My last name was Hall. You walk down a hallway, Hall, H-A-L-L. How hard can that be? And he couldn't. I had to spell it a couple of 3 times for him to write it down when we were being booked. And from there, they took us to these cells. I think there were 4 of them, I'm not sure. Portable cells that held 4 people. And in my cell, there were 16 of us, I remember. And we were kind of laughing that they took the mattresses off of these bunk beds because they didn't want us to be comfortable, I guess, or I don't know what their reasoning was. But we were laughing because we said, well, we wouldn't want them on there anyway because they were probably full of bed bugs or fleas. And so we were there at that first place overnight. I remember the scariest thing for me at the time was this big worse rat that we saw. I don't know if anyone else saw that. I don't. What? Did I imagine that? No, I don't think so.
Was this in the Albany jail?
This is in the Albany jail, the downtown jail. Yes, the Albany jail. I remember that. I remember one of the white jailees that was there was yelling out he was hungry, and he ordered spaghetti and meatballs, and I thought, well, this isn't fair. I think we stayed there overnight, and then we were taken to an armory. Now, I'm not sure which one it was, and I'm just not sure. That was cloudy too. I do know that we got word that our families did not know where we were because they kept moving us around, and they were moving us from county to county, and how illegal that was. If you were arrested, you were supposed to stay in Dougherty County, but apparently they took us to other counties. And I was in jail for 5 days. So it was from the main jail, downtown Albany, to the armory. And the last one was, and I don't know where it was, but we pulled up, and the first thing that we saw were nooses. I think there were 2 nooses hanging on a tree in the yard. And it was what used to be an old chain gang building, and it was dilapidated. The wood looked really, really dry because we said, gee, just one match, this thing will go up in smoke. And so that was a little frightening. And I believe I was there for 2 days. So that was the 3rd place that they took us, and it was the place that had the best food. I'm a foodie. I love to eat. I always have. So I tend to describe or think in terms of, okay, what do we have to eat? And they had the best black-eyed peas. And I guess it was a whole cake. It wasn't cornbread. It was made out of flour, but it was so good. And they had showers, I guess because it was an old chain gang house. So we had the bunk beds and so forth, and we could actually shower. So that was pretty good. When my family got word that I was arrested, my grandfather Hall, got himself arrested. So he joined the movement. I was so proud of him. And my Aunt Louise did. Now my Aunt Louise's daughter, Sharon, had a heart problem. And my mother, who was in New York, and my grandmother, who was in Albany, my family thought, okay, enough is enough. We're getting her out of there, because they were afraid. We're getting her out. So they told me that I had to leave because my cousin Sharon had had some sort of attack and that I had to go home, which disappointed me because I wanted to stay for the duration. I was in there for the duration. And I remember also that we kept talking about Robert Kennedy saving our behinds. Right? He was going to do something and get us out of here. Of course, that never happened. When I got out, I think I was in Albany maybe all of 1 or 2 days because my mother was serious. She wanted me out. She was afraid, and she knew that I would have been there with my mouth or with whatever till the end, because this just was not right. You know, and she knew how I was, so she sent for me to go home, and I went home. Now, when I got back to New York, I transferred to Long Island University, and I had no problem with transcripts or anything, so I guess I was not one of the students that had an F from that final exam. I must have slipped under the radar somehow because that was not in my transcripts. I received a letter shortly after from, I'm not sure who it was from, whether it was from the state of Georgia or from the college or the regents. Probably the regents, but I'm not sure now. And it said that I was suspended and I could not attend another state school because I conspired against the state of Georgia by my getting arrested. And my mother said, well, you know, to hell with them. You're not going back there anyway. She really did not want me to go back down because of the fear. And I wasn't upset. I was mad. I was pissed because, number one, we were not conspiring against the state of Georgia, and the fact that the school suspended me because we did nothing against the school at all. One of the things was I didn't want it to end. I just didn't. So I thought, well, if I join NAACP and get involved with that, I wanted to stay involved in some way, shape, or form, but I didn't. SNCC was nowhere around where I was, and I think there was CORE, the Urban League, all of that, but in New York City it really wouldn't have had a relevant bearing on what, because I wanted to be active. Well, you know, when you get involved with something like that, when you realize, no matter at what age, when you realize how injustices are perpetrated on people, and you have an opportunity to help rectify those injustices, it makes you feel very good. I didn't feel that good because things remained the same pretty much. Albany, I guess, has changed, but not very much. And the attitudes that people have, I guess, until a certain generation is gone, if they have taught that to the younger generations, it will continue. It's like a disease. It's like a disease. All of this, I can't imagine living my life thinking in terms of black and white every single day. So just my part, just my little small part that I did, and at the time did not think that it was that important. It's just that I got involved and did what I could. what I thought was right at the particular time. And that's been my whole life, actually. I became a Buddhist in 1966 when I lived in Paris. And I guess I've been a Buddhist my whole life. We're all part of each other. The human race, we're part of everything. And so to look at somebody and say that they are less than you just doesn't make any sense. So that may have started my way of thinking actually about becoming a Buddhist, because people shouldn't treat people that way. You know, I'm making a very simple statement, but it is simple. You know, there's nothing complicated about it. You treat people the way you want to be treated. And just because of your skin color doesn't make you any better or it doesn't make you any less. And that, of course, is a simple statement also, but it's true. And if you look at somebody and know that that person is actually part of you, then you have a whole different view of the world. I am so happy that I did go to Albany State. I think that was a blessing for me to go there and to get involved with what I got involved with. I'm so happy that I was a part of that, because it did help, again, help mold me into the person that I am now. That's a heavy one. That's a heavy one. That's a very heavy question. Injustice. The civil rights movement is about injustice. And for future generations, whatever they take out of what we did and what the civil rights movement in the 60s, whatever they take from that, just know that we saw that something needed to be changed, and we actively tried to change it. And if you are clear about who you are, and you're clear about the fact that we are all the same, and civil rights are human rights. We're all human beings. So whatever you can do, whatever they can do to make sure that their neighbor is happy and safe and sound, it starts with them. It starts with one person. And not try to put blame on a group of people because of something that they think they can't do. They can do, young people can do anything that they want to, especially now. We have a black president, so there's no excuse. So civil rights begins with them, each one personally, and then expand it. You take care of yourself, you take care of your neighbor. The neighbor is taking care of themselves.